Alright, this one's a bit more serious. I guess this is from Zepla. Are you griefing? Playstyle versus griefing in XIV. Alright, chat, you ready? Now, Zepla is someone who, like, obviously, like, does raid. But, you know, she's generally more casual, as far as I know. I don't really know her very well. I've never interacted or anything like that. But, she's very much in support of, like, the raiding attitude, you know what I mean? So, yeah. You know, I'm glad that videos like this exist, as if it's gonna say what I think it's gonna say. But, yeah.
Hey Bun, so today I wanted to answer the question, can you really play Final Fantasy 14 however you want? Like, how much freedom do you actually have?
Casuals listen to, like, gospel, yeah. Unfortunately, you know, like, a lot of confirmation bias exists, and people latch on to that. Like, she's certainly not the best example of, like... But then, like, that's not her content either, so, like, why would she be? But, like, the videos like this, of which she's done several, by the way, do usually speak in favor of, like, pulling your fucking weight in a scenario where it's required, so... I can appreciate that. Yeah, like, she's very level-headed, and that's what I appreciate.
In the game. At what point does this so-called social contract get in the way of you living your life and doing what pleases you? At what point does that turn into griefing of other people? It's like, as the saying goes, the Bun is born free, but everywhere he is in chains. It's like a very melodramatic way of saying that other people might have basic expectations of you, and, you know, certain situations may call for even higher expectations. Are you chained down by the harassment policy of Final Fantasy 14, or the bare minimum expectations of others, or conversely, even their impossibly high expectations? This can sometimes be the case. I think that there is a whole spectrum here that runs the gamut from, you know, total freedom and solo play all the way to enormous social pressure that you might experience in very high-end content. But solo stuff really is no pressure. Like duty support dungeons and trials, trust dungeons, your adventure squadron, if you have that, that puts you with AI bots to run content with you. Like, it doesn't matter how you treat them. Oh my god, it sounds horrible to say that. It sounds really bad to say. I have seen Westworld. Okay, I know how that can pan out for me. I feel like if there's going to be a robot uprising, I'm going to be one of the first to be taken out, because I've been a little bit toxic in my duty support dungeons with the AI bots, like pulling as many mobs as I possibly can, running way ahead as the DPS. Just
That's not toxic. Good. Fuck them, they're just NPCs.
to see if they can handle it, like just for fun, walking away or alt-tabbing while they're clearing out packs, like doing stuff I would never ever do in a normal party. But some people actually do treat other players like that, like they actually walk into a dungeon with the mindset of, I'm gonna do what I want, you don't pay my sub, and that's wild to me. But I wonder, maybe as more things become soloable, more of those people will just stick to the solo content where that attitude is perfectly fine because they are not bothering anyone.
This goes back to what I've said about like Yoshi P's like focus on making the game more soloable. Like, it's a fucking MMO. Like, how many times do we have to say this? You agree when you play an MMO that you're gonna probably have to interact with other people. So, by conditioning yourself in solo content, and then on the off chance you then go and you decide to go and do content of like other people, like, where does that leave you? You're gonna have the fucking shock of your life. It's an RPG first of MMO elements. What, this game? No, it's a fucking MMO. No, I disagree. It's a fucking MMO. They have said so. It's not designed that way whatsoever. The MSQ in true FF fashion is, you know, a fairly solo experience, yes. But there's dungeons and raids and whatever else. Like, the amount of online elements to this game is incredible. Just teleport to Limsa. Solo game, by the way. Yeah, I mean, like, they want it to be that way, sure, but I think that's damaging. That encourages more short-term play, for once, so, like, the longevity of players is less. Which I'm pretty sure is bad for them. And also, like, on the chance they decide to go from solo content to group content, like, they're in for the shock of their life. Yeah, like, the game story soloable is, like, mostly fine, and that's what they've done. But my problem is, like, what habits does that get people into? That's my problem, because there's so much more outside of that. I know there are people that just play the game for story reasons. Like, okay, sure, knock yourself out, but I don't agree with this idea of encouraging a solo attitude. Not in this game.
No one cares what you do in solo content, and there is already so much solo content in the game. Like, if you hate even thinking about how other people will react, you have no interest in accommodating other people in the slightest, then look into the Trust Dungeons of Duty support, the crafting, gathering, gardening stuff, housing, you know, Island Sanctuary coming soon, Criterion Dungeons, you'll be able to do solo soon. Glam farming you can do. There's plenty of Blue Mage.
Wait, what? A Criterion Dungeon's gonna be soloable? It's 1 to 4 players. Right, okay. I guess that's fine. Yeah, sure.
Spells that you can hunt down solo, Heaven's Word relics,
Good luck balancing
Born
it.
relics, side quests, New Game Plus, like the list goes on and on. And if you want something hardcore, there's obviously Deep Dungeon. That's my current obsession, and it's not because I'm antisocial, you know, wanting to only do solo Deep Dungeon because I don't want to interact with other people. It's just that it's something fun that I can do without adhering to anyone else's schedule, because being considerate of others doesn't just mean, you know, being nice to them, listening to them, not trolling or griefing them, but it can also mean just having the time to commit, to do things within a certain amount of time. And if you have to quit halfway in the middle of a duty sport dungeon or a trust dungeon.
Do people say you don't pay my sub? It's usually words to that effect, yeah. Like, not always exactly that, but there's a lot of implication of, I'll do what I want, fuck you.
It's fine. Like, you can just leave, you know? And, which is to say, there is no commitment. There is no obligation on you. And that's an incredible level of freedom that I'm happy exists in the game. And is sometimes necessary, depending on what you got going on in your life, right? So that brings us to the next thing that I wanted to talk about, the next level of expectation, which is above zero. You know, it's above the 0 level, which is solo content, but it is the bare minimum whenever you enter any kind of multiplayer content in the game, party content. Like, if you make that choice to do stuff with other players and not use trust, you are taking on the responsibility towards other people, like a tiny bit. But it is some tiny, small amount, even in the most casual content, like not going in there as a one button Andy, assuming it's not Copper Hell and you have more than one button to use, right? But not intentionally making other people's lives harder, not doing any damage, not just spamming Blizzard, not being an ice mage, right? In a story dungeon, in a normal raid or normal trial, you should expect to be giving, like, not even 100%. I mean, if you want to, that's great, but like 50, 60, 70% effort.
Like, nobody expects full optimal potential in dungeons or like just normal trials, normal raids. Like, you're gonna have underperformers, but like, you know, people are fucking new. People are trying out different jobs. It's not like it's gonna be that bad. Usually. Hear me out, chat. Alright. Obviously, there are times where people just are clearly not trying whatsoever. I am a firm believer in just not wasting other people's time. So even if you are new and shit, you know, just at least be trying. Like, that's all people want. Like, you know, obviously we're not talking about like Savage and Beyond yet. But like, just in your everyday content, just respect other people's time, man. Like, that's literally all it is. Like, things are gonna be shorter, things are gonna be slightly longer. Like, that's okay. It's not an issue. As long as it's clear that, you know, you're actually just playing how you're supposed to. And not just being a belligerent little bitch. Excuse me. You know, not having the you pull, you tank bullshit. Not pressing just cure one over and over. It can be terrible as long as they're teachable. Yeah, I mean, like, that's the thing. Like, just have the attitude of, I want to learn something here, or, you know, I want to get through this. That's it. No one's expecting fucking perfect rotations and, like, target priority in a fucking dungeon. People just don't want to be there for half an hour.
Least, like, maybe on a bad day you could give 40% effort. I doubt anybody would even notice. Not saying that you should do that, but my point is that there is a lot of very casual content in the game that is not asking a whole lot, and yet
True.
griefing still happens in there all the time. Like, I'm sure everybody has a story about it. It's not as common as in some other games, but it does happen. Like, seeing somebody have a hissy fit in the most casual content, or deliberately making things harder for others on purpose. I bring this up because I think a lot of these cases of people griefing is not because they are too lazy to follow the, you know, the social contract of basic decency that is expected, but it's often a reaction to something, like maybe a gentle suggestion of, hey, are you using your AoE combo? You know, maybe they don't even have a button on their bar. That's happened to me before, and they get offended, they get really defensive all of a sudden, thinking, oh my god,
Haven't done their class
I have
quests
been
as well.
perceived like they just noticed something about me that's not perfect.
Not using
I
their
hate
job
this,
stone.
I'm angry. Like, some people really will fly off the handle just from something gentle like that, like a gentle advice like that, and their ego can take over and they start power tripping. Like, a healer stands there not healing, or not healing, oh, that particular guy, screw that one guy, right? Like, I've seen this happen. Things can go south real fast when ego gets in the way of listening. Like, you are going to have a real bad time in any group content if you cannot set your ego aside, even for a moment, even at the basic, most casual level. And then, you know, of course, in harder content, in extreme trials, in savage raids, even ultimates, there is obviously much more social pressure, which all layers on top of that foundation of being able to listen, being able to take advice, and be humble, not half-assing it or giving 40% effort to get by one day because he felt lazy, right? It's like, in a hard content, in these more
Look, regardless of, like, your opinion of Zepla and, like, your experiences with her, like, she has a point here. She at least means well with what she's saying. You know, I get it, chat, I do. But, you know, like, this video is important. And she's doing the right thing.
more high-end scenarios, it is whole assing it to the best of your ability, going whole ass on there, because there's 7 other people depending on you. So a minute ago I talked about time commitments and how in solo content you're not beholden to anyone else's schedule. Like, it's completely up to you, which is one of the beautiful things about solo content. That's why I enjoy it so much. But there is this other extreme where a lot of times in the hardcore setting, you are very much beholden to a set schedule where you have agreed to meet at certain days and certain times. And that is the sacrifice that you make for a very advanced and rewarding social experience. Like, everybody getting together and killing a boss that is hard in an organized way. It's a whole new level of satisfaction that comes from cooperating with other people, everybody giving their best effort, but that does come at the cost of some of that freedom, you know. But I have heard people say, even talking about extreme trials and savage, like, I won't go out of my way to try hard because this is my relaxation time. But
yeah, you don't do that in fucking savage, not even extreme sometimes, man. Like, these things have a fucking enrage. Like, do better. And if you're not doing good enough, you better hope other people are either picking up the slack, or you better hope that you can take criticism when people tell you to get better.
Oh, my shoulder!
Like, it's not that hard, you know?
I do think that in the setting of an extreme trial or savage, like in this high-end content where your mistakes matter to the group, refusing to try or improve at all is griefing the team, honestly. Like, there are
It
situations where your straight up refusal to learn a mechanic because it's not relaxing for you can wipe the raid and waste everybody's time. So if you want that, please, please, please consider joining a casual static or an FC where everybody's on the same page, has a similar mindset as you, or do some more chill content like roulettes, like alliance raids, maybe even casual PvP, like just out of respect for other people's time. Because I feel like very often raiders are stereotyped as sweaty nerds who just care way too much, and they're asking so much, too much, like they're elitist jerks. And yes, those people are most certainly out there, but I think nowadays there's also a huge number of people who play the game and literally have only like 2 or 3 hours to play. Like, they've got kids, they got a full-time job, and they're just trying to make the most at the little chunk of playtime that they have in their day. I think it would be really helpful if more people would remember that and consider that when they go into the group content in general. Like, you have to accommodate other people.
It's just respecting other people's time, man. Like, that's fucking it. Just respect other people's time. People are not asking the world of you. They're asking you, in whatever content it is, to set your expectations of yourself to the level it requires.
Cannot always expect to be accommodated. I can't tell you the number of times that I've been into a Party Finder group for a Savage content or extreme trial, and there's somebody who just lied about how far they were in the fight expecting a carry. Like, it doesn't fly. Like, it usually doesn't work. It's usually pretty obvious, and everybody ends up being really frustrated. The fact is, when the stakes are higher and there's more responsibility on every person as part of that social pressure, like that expectation, everybody has their hands full with their own problems. Sometimes I feel like maybe people do not always give their best effort or try harder because they feel like they have to be perfect, and they're never going to be perfect, so why bother, right? But you really do not have to be perfect at the game to work with other players to clear hard
content. Don't be bad, forehead.
Okay, like, you do not even have to be amazing to clear Savage content. You just have to be all right. Okay, you have to be able to ask yourself, how was that wipe my fault? Could it have been my fault? Like, how can I do this mechanic better? What do I not understand? You have to be able to ask yourself these questions, because and it's not always going to be relaxing in this high-end setting. A lot of times that relaxation is not going to come until the boss is dead and you can, like, unclench your cheeks. Now, I've said that very high-end content also comes with a high level of expectation from other people, of needed commitment and patience with other people, but I also think that those expectations should not go unsaid.
So easy to just disregard everyone else in the party, though. People be selfish. Yeah, I mean, like, this is the thing. Like, I don't know how people expect to get things done when they can't be bothered to try themselves. Like, for real. I don't understand. Like, don't you want it to be done faster? Don't you want to get on with your day? Like, don't tell me you're just sat there in the fucking duty sightseeing. You're full of shit. Get it together.
I think nowhere is this more important than in high-end content, because whenever you look at, you know, casual content, it is generally understood that it is not something you really need a min-max for. You don't usually need to, like, well, you don't ever really need to gate going into an alliance raid behind, like, whatever the mandatory item level is that you need to queue for it in Duty Finder. Like, that's pretty much all handled by the Duty Finder. It's not that serious. It's pretty chill. But whenever it comes to something like a high-end content, you need to be able to make those expectations very clear to the player. And I think that we often see huge problems in the raiding scene whenever those expectations are not well communicated, because everybody has a different play style, everybody has different priorities, and while you can expect that there will be a lot that you will need to do to work with the team in the best way that you can and provide the best value you can to the team, every team might have different rules on that. So that's why I think it's important to try to make your Party Finder listings very clear about what exactly you're looking for in the player. You know,
I mean, we fucking do, but nobody fucking reads them. There's only so much you can do. When people just don't fucking read. Oh, I thought it was 2 chests. Well, we got a flex? I don't know how to flex. I want a damage down. Like, yeah, you're right. But also, people don't fucking read. It's annoying.
What strats you're going to use, how far you are in the fight. Generally, people have a pretty good at doing that, but then again, there are people who sometimes try to bypass those clearly set boundaries and restrictions and try to say, oh, I'm actually on phase 2 or 3, but they're not. They're on phase 1 and they're trying to get a carry. As part of accepting the responsibility that comes with doing high-end content, you also need to respect the need not just to listen but to communicate well. So as the game becomes more solo friendly and we start to see different kinds of soloable activities being added to the game as new features like Island Sanctuary, like Criterion Dungeons, I think it's helpful to think about why you would choose to do one type of content over another. Like, why would you choose to do a solo content? What sort of attitude would you need to take into, or could you take into a solo content, and what sort of freedom and expectations are there versus what kinds of freedom and expectations is there in more casual content or more high-end content? What sort of communication do you need, and what is the one foundational principle that can ensure that you're probably going to do fairly well in group content? To me, I think that that is being able to be humble. Like I said a lot of times in this video, being able to just set your ego aside and listen and take advice. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please consider supporting the channel on Patreon or on Twitch. You can also support the channel for free just by clicking the subscribe button or by sharing this video with your fellow warriors of light. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Yeah. I don't really have much to say. Just, yeah, pretty much. I don't just perform in a way that matches the scale of the content you're doing. Like, that's it. If you're going into harder shit, be ready. And the comments are pretty fine, it seems. Like, oh, look at this Chad here, man. I take a lot of pride in making the run as smooth as possible for my groups. I watch video guides before every dungeon and trial. Like, holy shit, dude. What a Chad. Like, this is all full of, it's all full of, like, good comments. There's no, like, idiots here. Seems people get the message somewhat. That's why I like doing DSR with the best players, because everyone knows what's expected of them. And DSR definitely proved people did not know what was expected of them, but yeah. It's certainly a learning experience. People gotta learn somehow, right? Yeah, I mean, good video. Like, as I said, say what you want about Zepla, but like the videos she puts out are clearly like they clearly have the right intent, which is good. And like, we need more videos like that, because people like her actually have the most power to reach an audience of people that perhaps think the opposite, you know? So, you know, I think it's good that we have videos like this. And there needs to be more of it.